Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Dancing Heart podcast, the place that empowers and inspires you to live in alignment with your heart and joy. I'm your host, Torney Wiggum, here to bring you deep conversations with inspiring guests about purpose, empowerment, and living in alignment. Let's get dancing into this week's episode. Yes, and we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Dancing Heart podcast. I am so excited to bring on this week's guest, Erica El Hilali. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. So, Erica, you are an astrologer, Reiki practitioner, you are a book author, and you're also a leader in tech and finance. And you actually just released your first book, which is the name of the book is Soul Capitalist. Congratulations. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Yes, it's so exciting to have my book, Soul Capitalism, How to Take Back Your Power and Change the World, to have it out in the world, have my ideas out there, and to really help empower people to find their purpose and then go out in the world and do something about it.
Exactly. This is so great. And actually, when this episode is live, it's the date that your book is open to be purchased on the market.
That's correct. Yes, I'm very excited. So it's available for purchase. There's ebook version, so feel free to download the ebook or to get the paper copy, whatever is easier.
Amazing. So before we dive into this conversation, which we're going to talk more about your book and what made you feel inspired to write the book, what makes your heart dance today, Erica?
That's a great question. And I really love the intention of the podcast. I think it's so important that we are dancing with our hearts. For me, I think it's always my family. My family makes me dance. My son, he is 6 years old and he's just a sweet boy. He always makes my heart dance. And really thinking about the next generation, I think that there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. But for me, I look at these young kids and I see so much in them. And I know that we as adults can do a lot more to help them lead with their purpose and lead with their hearts open, to be their full potential out in the world. That makes my heart dance.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can, like as parents, we are also here to be the leader for the next generation. And I also believe with your book that you just been writing that your intention is to put more soul work out there, being more connected to the purpose so we can actually change the world, not for just ourselves, but also for the next generation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so much of what we're seeing now with capitalism, and, a lot of people have a lot of negative connotation around capitalism. I think for me, like when you look at capitalism, and if you read Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, and you read his work, when he was actually a ethicist. People forget this, but like he was actually very much an ethicist in that vein of philosophy. And he thought that, if people are acting in their self-interest, then they will go out and they will demand goods that serve them. And then that ends up helping other people as well. And then in business too, for example, if you really love, whatever your trade is, like if you love building technology that does something, or you love helping people heal, or whatever your really makes your heart light up, you're going to go out in the world and do great things with that. Like you're going to build a business that's serving those people, that's helping them. And I think that that's really, we need to get back to those foundations. I think that, we have seen in the last probably 50 years or so, capitalism go astray from that. I think a lot of it's been about maximizing shareholder value. There's another economist, Milton Friedman, who actually advocated that businesses should only care about maximizing shareholder value. And I think that's misguided. I think that we've kind of strayed away from what the goal of capitalism was, which is you see a problem, identify a solution, and now go bring that solution to market and help people with it. And I think if we can get back to those basics and do it with more intention and more soul focus, you're going to see business change. You're going to see the world change, right? There's going to be a lot more solutions out there that serve people. There's going to be just a whole change of what can happen. And, as we're talking about being moms, I really think about being a mom and how I want my son to be in the world. And I want him to be able to be a problem solver, go out there, see a problem in the world, do something about it, make it better for people and build a business with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And we are such in an interesting time in the world right now, or in time in general, with astrology and with the shifts happening right now, and more people being more connected to their heart and to their purpose, and really wanting to change the world by connecting back to their heart and leading with purpose. And I know that your book is also a guide with practical steps and to really help more people connect back to their power. And before we go deeper into the book, what was your inspiration of writing this book? I'm sure it's been like a process for many years until it's now born out in the world.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I think this is something I've really been thinking about for a while now. I've been in the traditional corporate business world, and then I was in startups, in leadership position at different startup companies. And I've seen this, I'll call it a failure of leadership. I think there's a failure of a leadership in a lot of businesses today where there's this hyper focus on financial spreadsheet manipulation and, really only caring about the shareholders at the expense of every other stakeholder. That it's just been something that's really been bothering me for a few years now. And it just keeps growing and growing. And it's like, I don't want to just be a victim to it. I don't want to just be somebody who's like, oh, this is the system. Like, we can't do anything about it. And I think so oftentimes we give our power away when we have a lot more power than we realize. And so this book was really about me taking my power back and then helping others be empowered to take their power back. Like, we don't have to be just victims to a system and be like, oh, like, we can't do anything about it. The system is bad. I think there are things we can do that make an impact and make a change. And especially if you get enough of us doing this, it becomes a movement and it becomes a new way to do business. It becomes a new way to really think about how do we build our lives? How do we really add meaningful contribution to the world? A lot of times you'll see people that have all the money in the world and they're not even happy, right? I've seen it time and time again. You'll see CEOs or business investors and, you think they have it all and then they're really miserable. Like, they feel like, oh, I'm not really doing anything with my life, or, I'm just buying more stuff. But it's like, are they really happy? No. But there are people out there in business who are doing things that are good. They really believe in the mission of what their businesses are. You'll see it in their team cultures where their team is like energized and, they're not burnt out. They want to go to work. So when you have that type of energy where people want to be there, the person at the top has a real clear idea of what their purpose is and then what their company's mission is, and how they're helping people, you see a huge change in the energetics of it and then the impact that those companies have on the world. So I just think it's so important right now, especially as we're, in the zeitgeist of the world. We're having this really interesting moment with capitalism in terms of is this serving people? It certainly isn't. I mean, I think anybody can look at the system and say there are problems happening and all of that, but should we just throw our hands up and say, oh, the system is what it is. We don't have any power. We're just powerless. Or do we take our agency back and really say, hey, I do have a lot more power. I need to figure out who I am, what my power is, and then go out in the world and be really clear about who you are and what you're about, and put your energy towards the work and the businesses that are really in alignment with who you are.
Mm. Yeah, and that is connecting, finding out who you are, what you're about, what you just said, and also connecting to your purpose that is serving like a bigger cause in the world that you're really passionate about. And yeah, there is different ways of doing business. Like you don't have to do the business the way that it has been done for the past, like you said, 50 years. And we both been in the corporate world and in the, I call it like the hamster wheel, where you're
Mm-hmm.
just caught up in like one thing and you just go into that and you don't really know like, why am I even doing that? And what is like in this book, like how do you describe the process of like being a soul, being in the soul capitalism?
Yeah, I think the first step is you have to go inward. And there's a number of steps and questions and exercises to really help you get into who you are, what you're about, understanding your energy and how to manage it is really important too. So it's first you take the journey within, and then once you have a solid foundation and clarity of who you are, then at that point you can go out into the world, and whether it's a career you're in, the businesses you want to start, the connections and collaborations you want to make, become really a lot easier, right? Because you know who you are. Now you go out in the world and you give your energy in alignment with your energy. So, for example, if you go through this process and you decide, you know what, animals are really important to me. That's who I want to serve. That I love being kind to animals. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to go start a business that does, uh, you know, animal food for dogs that's, good for their health or whatever. It doesn't even have to just be a spiritual business. I think that's what a lot of people think when they think of soul capital. They're like, oh, you're talking to spiritual entrepreneurs and stuff like that, which I certainly am. I'm a huge fan of spiritual entrepreneurs, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's like throughout the whole society, if everybody is doing businesses that are in alignment with what they're passionate about and who they want to serve, then that creates a lot of just rich innovation and creativity out there. And then the other part I want to talk about is collaboration. I think we've in the last I'll go back to this kind of 50 years mark, because I do think it started in the 70s, when there was a shift in capitalism. I do think that we have this like sense of hyper capitalism where, people have to be like super hyper competitive, and like it's like this winner takes all and like that type of mentality. And I don't think that's how the world is, right? I think we can create so much more. I think the world is infinite. There aren't these finite set of resources. We live in an abundant universe, and we can co-create with the universe in beautiful ways. And one of the ways we can do that is collaboration. And so a lot of times you can work with other businesses, you can partner with people, and you end up making a lot more deeper innovation. There's things that, an idea will come from this person and this person, and separate, they're powerful, but then when they're together, they're like, whoa, even more powerful. So collaboration is really important in this new shift where people and businesses need to really learn how to work together. And also, just because you're getting business doesn't mean it's taken away from them. We've seen this. Like I did some consulting for uh, another astrology business, and it was really interesting. how many people actually use multiple astrology apps, right? So, you think like, oh, well, if you buy my app, then you're not gonna, you won't buy any other astrology apps. It's not actually true. There are a lot of people that will have like multiple astrologers, and they're like, oh, well, I like this person because they give good advice about relationships, but this person gives good advice about money or whatever. And it's like there's this ecosystem where people might want both, right? And so could you partner with that person and do different collaborations and things like that? All of that is out there too as a possibility, and we shouldn't limit ourselves, right? And I think the old mindset was very limiting.
Exactly. Yeah, this is such a great point. Like, see collaboration as an opportunity instead of as competition.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of the mind shift of the new earth, like the new way of doing business that we are stepping into right now.
Yeah, and I think even you're seeing it with the way marketing has changed, right? So we used to have, there were a certain set number of commercials on TV, right? Like there were a certain number of ad time that could be bought, and you had to compete to get that ad time, right? Now with social media, there's so many different channels. I mean, there's new channels coming out. I just saw a new career focused one. I'm like, there's just like so many different channels out there. And then even the channels that do exist, like Instagram, like how many different influencers are people following and all of that, there's just a lot more opportunity. It's not this hyper competition. And when you work with somebody, you'll have their audience share your audience, and it's this more collaborative network of sharing information that I think is really powerful.
It's right, like holding each other hands and standing together and in their power instead of with your elbows that like we used to do in business, right?
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, I love that. And back to your book, like who's the audience that's going to benefit for reading your book?
Yeah, I think it can help people who are, just starting out in their careers in terms of they may not have a clear idea of, who they are or what they're about. So, I think of like myself when I first graduated from college, it would have been good for me to maybe go through some of these deeper, more soulful, reflective questions and get good clarity about who I am and what I want to do before I went out into the working world. And I probably would have gotten to where I am quicker, if I would have had more clarity at a younger age. But I think also too, there's people who are in the middle of their career that are feeling kind of burnt out or they're jaded. They're they're feeling like, is this all it is? Like, oh, we have these jobs and they may not be fulfilled by them. There's, people, I think there's a huge group of people also that are approaching retirement and they're getting out of the corporate world, but they're not ready to like not do anything, right? Like they want to maybe start a business or whatever, and they want to get some clarity about it. This book could help them as well. I do have some different strategies in there for even like how do you price your products and things like that. So there's like a pricing section in there. So people who are starting businesses, they can start thinking about some of those strategies and being really intentional about it, not just being like, oh, well, I've heard that this is the popular pricing model. It's like, no, price according to like, what is your energy about? Who are you trying to serve? How does it help them? And being a little bit more reflective and intentional about those choices.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. So it's not just for beginning entrepreneurs, just starting out. It's for every like people in every stages of their life that can benefit from reading this book and really seeing how more people can, through connecting to the purpose, like really serve a bigger, like helping the world to raise the frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too that some of the reflective exercises and questions that are in there are really helpful to do with others as well. I know I have a section about soul budgeting. So like if you have a romantic partner, it might be cool for you guys to do that together and be like, okay, we have this household budget. How are we managing it together? what do we, what's important to me, what's important to my partner, how do I compromise between the two and make sure that where I'm spending my money is in alignment with my energy. So I know that that's a big thing too. Another area where we give a lot of our power away is through our money, right? Like, how are we spending as consumers? So a lot of what people are doing is they'll say like, oh, like these big companies are so terrible, and then they still go shop and give them money. It's like we have so many choices now of where you can spend your money and where you don't want to spend your money. It takes a little bit of time and just being conscious and aware, but getting out of that mentality of, oh, well, I was branded to think that this is what I need to buy. Do some research on it and be like, oh, should I really be spending my money there? Is it in alignment with my values? And if it's not, don't give them your power, right? Like, it's really that simple.
It is. Yeah. You give them some certain steps on how they can take their power back.
Mm-hmm.
So what
Yeah.
is
So,
your other practical tips on that? Like, how can you take your power back, not just with your money, but in other areas?
yeah, I think a lot of it is where you think about where you're giving your energy. I think a lot of times people think of money as like, it's just like the actual currency of it. Like, okay, I have this, I have this amount of dollars in my bank account and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, think about that word, even currency. Like, it's the current, like the flow of energy. And that's really what money is. And so wherever you give your money, you're giving your energy to. And then also wherever you give your time, you're giving your energy to. So if you're working in a job or for you have a business that just isn't really in alignment with you, or it's not something that's exciting to you, it's not making your heart dance. I'll do a, a shout out to the podcast name, but I think it's like, don't give your money to it, right? Like, we're only here on earth for a limited time, and when you give your money away to things that don't make your heart dance, it's like you don't like it, right? Like, that's when you're out of integrity. And so to be in integrity is, here are the choices that I'm making. I have like a reflective exercise too, where it has you go through your budget and you start to ask like, is this in alignment with my values or not? And it takes, the first one is the hardest, right? And it can be baby steps, right? So you say like, okay, I'm going to, like, for example, grocery shopping, right? That's something everybody has to buy food. So you'll say, okay, this week I'm going to do like fruits and vegetables. I'm going to try to buy from like a local farmer for my fruits this week. And then the next week you're like, okay, now I'm going to get my vegetables from there too. And then and like slowly you can over time make these changes. It doesn't have to be one and done overnight. Your whole life is changed, but gradually doing these baby steps, you'll get more and more in integrity. And the most powerful thing is every time you take a step where you're more and more in alignment and more integrity with yourself, you'll feel your energy and your power come back to you. And then that like just recharges you. And so a lot of times when I hear people, they'll say they're burnt out or they're jaded about things or whatever. It's like, that's because you're giving your power away to people that don't deserve it or to companies that aren't in alignment with you. Like really being in integrity is, I'm only giving my energy to where I want it to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that you have practical tips and also like journal prompts
Mm-hmm.
in the book, because that makes it more like a guide that you can use that to really getting closer to what you really want to do in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also talk about meditation in the book as well. I think that's a really good way. I think we all have a lot of like noise in our mind about, we're inundated with information, right? And it's kind of one of the biggest problems of our time is we get just completely overwhelmed with information, and we get more and more out of touch with just like the actual information center of who we are and like our soul and our heart telling us what we want. And so meditation, and I think, I mean, I've been meditating every day for 10 years now, and it's completely changed my life in terms of being able to shut that part of my brain off. And now I'm at the point where like those thoughts just aren't really there anymore. Like I can shut them off and have those boundaries in place. But it took me a while, right? It's meditation, in my opinion, is a muscle. And so it's something you have to develop over time. And every day you meditate, you just get better and better at it. And it doesn't have to be like a long practice. Even 5 minutes a day helps, of just taking time in the day to shut off all the noise and just be like, come back to yourself is really, really powerful and a helpful tool that's practically helps you get out of that cycle of just ping-ponging from one thought to the next.
Yeah. And I know there's a saying like if you don't have time to meditate, you are the one that should be meditating more, like longer than everybody that really has the time to do it.
For sure. Yeah. And I know we're both moms, so I will say one tip, because I feel like moms are so busy in the world, and a lot of moms will be like, oh, we don't have time to meditate. I actually meditate with my son. We'll meditate before bed every night. And I do, I think it's a great thing you can bring into your kids' life as well. Like, read them a story before bed and just make it part of the bedtime routine that they know you're going to meditate, even if it's like 5-10 minutes. They'll end up liking it because it helps them calm down too. Because kids have so much energy, they need to relax at night, and most of them don't. So, you can build meditation into your day in different ways. Whether you're a mom, or if I know, before I was a mom, I would do it on my lunch break too. Like I would just be like, okay, I'm just gonna take like 5 minutes to meditate at my desk, or go for a walk or something if it was a nice day out. There's a lot of different ways you can meditate. Do a walking meditation, where you don't literally listen to anything. You're just out walking in nature. There's a lot of different ways to build it into your life.
Yes, it is. And I love that because you're passionate about the holistic growth, and I see that you're bringing everything that you're passionate about into the book, not just like the soul, like you're bringing all the practical tips and tools that is actually helping. And that is so great. Like you have everything in the book. And how long did it take you to write this book?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. It's something that I wanted to write for a while, but then right before the holidays, I was actually laid off from a job. Um, so it was one of those things where it was totally a blessing in disguise, because then I was like, oh my God, I have all this time left. Like I have all this time back. I want to write my book, and it just like flowed out of me. Like it was like just this incredibly divine process where I had the structure in place, and I was like, all right, I have to write this chapter, and I would just sit down and I would write it. And it just like came out of me, and it was like, here's what's going to be in there. Here's what tips I want to put in. I want to put in this practice because it's been helpful to me. And it just flowed out of me in this like beautiful, beautiful way. And I do think that the universe works in really special ways in terms of, if you are out of alignment or you need to have a break, sometimes it'll force you to have a break. It'll be like, hey, you need a break because you need to write this book, or you need a break because you need to focus on this part of your life. And I know that I've seen a lot of layoffs and stuff like that happening in the last couple months, at least here in America. I just saw another one this morning, and I was like, oh no. But I also think it's a good opportunity if you are facing a layoff. It's a great time to really reflect on yourself and your career and what you want to do next. And maybe that's time for you to start a business, and maybe that's time for you to do something. And I think one of the cool things about this is now I've been getting different consulting clients, and like and from different industries, like from the spiritual world to traditional technology. So it's been really fun to see how sometimes like taking back your energy like that, it ends up creating a lot more other opportunities that you didn't have before. So, I think that it's good to see these, what could be seen as unfortunate. Sometimes it's just the universe is looking out for you and has your back in a different way.
Yes, universe always has your back.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I love that you were able to see that when you actually got laid off. You were like sitting back and like, okay, this is the time for me to write the book.
Yeah,
And you,
honestly, it was so funny because when I got laid off, I actually was like relieved. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to get my energy there anymore. So it was like super funny. It was like, that was also a good sign that I was like, okay, I need to be focusing my energy elsewhere. And that's what I did. And I think it's good to be honest with yourself about it. Like if you are in a job right now and you're like, yeah, but it pays the bills and but really be honest about it. Is it really serving your energy or not? And sometimes more abundance will come into your life if you let go of something that's not in alignment. Something else will come in that is actually not only more in alignment, but ends up leading to a lot of other more fulfilling opportunities.
Exactly, like it did for you. You wrote your book, and now do you have your own company right now where you are doing consulting work?
Yeah, so I actually have started my own company where I'm doing consulting work. And it's varied work that I've gotten so far, anything from financial help. I did some budgeting and profit loss analysis for a company to figuring out go to market strategies in terms of like how do we bring a new product to market. I also have done some work on adding new products, and I was actually able to look at their business model and say, hey, you have all of this subscription business, but you're not doing enough upsells and having additional one-off offers. And so I was able to have them add in a new offer for that as well. And they're generating revenue from it. So it's like, it's really rewarding to see like, hey, you have these ideas that can get implemented and then, that's generating more revenue that can help someone else get hired, help get new ideas out there. So, and that's really, I think the beauty of business is it's like, it does help people. It really does when it's done the right way.
Exactly. I love that. And love just hearing about your process from being laid off and writing the book. And now you have all these opportunities just coming to you, and it all feels aligned to who you are and what you're here to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that when you say no to something, and whether it's you saying no or they said no, either way, when that no happens, I think then it opens you up to have more space for the things that you need to say yes to.
Mm, exactly. And in terms of technology, I know you have that's where you have your experience from, finance
Hmm.
and technology. And I know we are moving towards like the age of technology right now.
Hmm.
And what advice do you have in terms of technology and new businesses and being like putting your soul into it? Like, how can we integrate that?
Yeah, I think this is such a great topic. And so I will say, it's funny. I actually got laid off when Pluto was at Capricorn, 29 degrees. And it's super funny because I'm a 29-degree Libra. So I'm going to go a little bit deep on astrology here. So forgive me when I
It's
just love
fine.
astrology because I think it's so important. But it's funny that like the layoff for me happened when Capricorn was at 29 because it was like I had this essentially decade and a half career in more traditional business. And it was like, your lessons are done here. Now it's time to move on to the new era, which is Pluto and Aquarius, which will be in for, just over 20 years. We'll have Pluto and Aquarius now. And that Pluto and Aquarius energy is all about change with technology. So we're already seeing it with AI and machine learning and, digital currencies and all of that. You're seeing so much change and innovation happening, and it's only going to be at an even faster and faster pace. But you're also going to see this move towards a more spiritual focus on things where people don't just want to do the business. They don't want to just be Capricorn. They want to feel connected to things. And so I think there will be an increase in spirituality as well. And I think that there's going to be a real one of the beautiful things about Aquarius energy. I'm also Aquarius moon, so I'll give my moon a shout out there. Um, is that it's really about this humanitarian, democratic focus. So the technologies that are out there are really going to be about who's serving the most people and who's helping the most people feel empowered. It's really about individual empowerment is huge in the Aquarian energy and psychic energy right now. You're seeing a lot of this happen where people are starting to want more democracy. There's more conversations about power and the structure of things and all of that. So you're going to see a lot of change, whether it's in politics, the technologies that are coming out. And I think the third rail will be business. I do think business is going to have to change and adapt to this new climate. The old way of having this hyper focus on shareholder value just isn't in alignment with the energy right now. And so, we need to have this new rekindling of capitalism that's more true to the individual's purpose, and aligns with those individual purposes and allows freedom of expression, freedom of collaboration and information movement. All of that is going to be the next 20 years. And it's an exciting time. It's, for some people who don't like change, it's scary. I'm not one of those people. I actually love change and always try to embrace change because I think that's where we learn and grow. And so, if stuff is happening and there's, big change that you see out in the world and you're scared of it and you're in this fear frequency, take a step back, try to ground your energy, like go outside and touch a tree or, walk barefoot on the ground, get connected to the earth and feel safer in your body. And then say, okay, what is this trying to teach me? Is this in alignment with my energy or not? Because there are going to be a lot of new ideas, but not everyone is the one you should be about, right? So it's like a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to go into AI because that's the new next biggest thing. But it's like, but is that really the one that you should be focusing on? Maybe you need to be focusing on something completely different. Like maybe machine learning is more for you, or maybe cryptocurrencies are more your jam, or whatever it is. Like you have to figure out what is in alignment with you. Maybe it's green technologies are more your jam because you really like the earth and environment and all of that. So this is where having a clear sense of yourself is going to help you navigate these changes, because we're going to see that pace just really increase and you'll be like, okay, yep, this is for me. This isn't for me. The last thing I'll say about astrology is if you look at the symbol of Aquarius, it's like these two lines next to each other. And it's like, where do you belong, right? That's really the energy of Aquarius. It's these two lines, they're together. And it's like, do you belong with this line or this line? Where do you belong? And so that's going to be a huge question of the next 20 years. Where do you belong? Which energy, which group of people, which company, which activity, what is that, what belongs with you and what doesn't? And so I think for me, that's how I'm navigating this new Pluto and Aquarius age that we're in. And it's going to be a fun journey. I feel like I was alive at this time for this moment and I'm ready for it.
You're ready for it. Wow. Thank you so much for your perspective and for bringing this astrology jam into it too. I love that. And it resonates, of course. This is the first year where we're going to have the full experience of Pluto in Aquarius. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of transits happening. And I feel there's a lot of like shakeups in society right now.
For sure.
Just look around and just see everything that's been happening. And we are not even 2 months in this year. Like I feel it's been so many events happening that it feels like it's been a year already, for me at least.
Yeah, Mars was in retrograde and then it just went direct, but now Venus is going to go retrograde. And so it's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. And I know there's some eclipses coming up in March. So we have a lot of March, I think will be maybe a tougher month, or just like a month that has a lot of change in it. But just really be in faith with the changes happening is meant for you and you're supposed to learn something from it. So always keep your eye open for where there's opportunities to learn and grow.
And there's always an opportunity to go within and like see where am I not in alignment with what you truly want, and be honest. And like, how can that serve the world in a way that you haven't even thought of? Because I think that's a lot about purpose too. Like, I know that you've been in the corporate for a decade and a half, like you said, and I also been in the corporate world and just doing the same and never even questioning it.
Hmm.
And then you see that this big change is coming, and it's like, oh, and you don't really see it's coming. Maybe it's something that you never could even think about. But when you're actually stepping into that power and being really honest, it's like, wow, this is so aligned for me.
Yeah, and I think just being open to receiving those downloads, right? Like I think that's a huge part of it too, is a lot of times we're just not open to receive those insights, those you'll get little pings, we'll get little like nudges telling us something, and be open to it, and um be really solid in who you are, so that when you're out in the world you have the confidence to be like, well, this is who I am. I'm going to show up as myself every day no matter what. And it's okay if that person is not vibing with them. That's fine. It wasn't for them. Maybe it's for somebody else. And so I think that's really powerful. I also will say that I think it's really powerful if we as women, I think that's another trend. We're going to see women and the divine feminine really stepping into their power in a more profound way over the next, 2 decades, which I think is a good thing. I think that we need everybody's voice out there, male and female, tapping into both divine feminine and divine masculine energies out there in the world and creating really awesome things. One of the chapters in my book is actually about the secret. How can you create innovation? And it taps into this whole divine masculine and divine feminine, and how we both have access to both of those energies. And we need to be able to collaborate with those energies within ourselves together and then with other people. And that's how creation happens. That's how all of these new ideas come about and new innovation happens in really, interesting ways.
I love that. So, in terms of your book, like there's so many good chapters in there, like from you have talked about on in this conversation. Are you able to like know what you're meant to be doing if you are just following the instruction and the chapter of your book? And then after reading the book, are you just fully ready to move forward in the direction of your soul?
Yeah, so this book, you go on that journey within, you get really clear about who you are, what you're meant to be doing with your life in these, next decades we have. And then from there, you're able to go out in the world and make change. And that's what we need. We need people that are aligned with their heart, aligned with their soul, out there doing great work in the world. And you're going to see the world change, and it will be better for the next generation. It will get better the more and more of us that do this alignment work and do this healing work to maybe let go of some of the old conditioning and the old ways of doing things. We can go out in the world and be who we want to be, and stand for what we believe in new ways that I think are important.
Yes. And Erica, I know that your book is launching today.
Mm-hmm.
Where like if people are listening and like, oh my God, I need this book because I really feel there's something else for me. I want to really do something else with my life. Where can I get the book?
Yeah, so it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, so you can go there. It's Soul Capitalism: How to Take Back Your Power and Change the World. You can also reach out to me on social media. I'm at Erica El Hilali. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on all the ones that I can be on. There's too many sometimes, but yeah, reach out to me. If you do read the book and you like it, let me know. I always love hearing how people react to things, and I'm a collaborative person, so like I like that social interaction with people. So reach out and let me know what you got out of it and if you liked it or not.
Amazing. And you're really like spreading your power out there, like spreading your voice and being expressive. Like you said, like, oh, I am on Instagram, on your LinkedIn and TikTok. Like, you go, girl.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what is your, if you would like say one advice to somebody that is going to like really want to get more in alignment with who they are, like what is the best advice that you would love to receive? Like maybe like 5, 10 years ago before
Yeah,
you started this journey.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times people will be like, oh, I don't have time to do that right now. I would say you don't have time to not do this, whether it's reading my book or just doing your own personal practices to get back to yourself. If you are not connected to yourself, like you're missing out on the most amazing way to live your life, because when you're living connected to yourself in this co-creation process with the universe, that's when magic happens. Like that's when you can like be doing awesome things that you're proud of, you're excited about. You're living in this amazing energy flow with the universe that I would not want to ever live this way. Like I have lived not this way where I haven't been in alignment. I've lived in alignment and it feels so much better when you're in alignment. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm waking up. Like I'm excited to like roll up my sleeves and get working and get doing stuff. Like that's the way you want to live your life. And so whatever it is, find a practice where you're getting back to yourself every day and really be in integrity with that. That, you know, that's the best way to live out there. If you do try to build a life outside of integrity, eventually it crumbles anyway. So it's because your energy will always want you to get back to yourself. So it's like you
Mm.
might as well just take the journey now and go back to yourself today.
Yes, exactly. I love that. And I just want to say something, like add something to that, because I was at this conference and somebody said, like a very powerful speaker. Her name is Lisa Nichols, by the way. And she said, if you never start doing you, you will never get done.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So,
I'll actually add to that. I don't know if you're ever done. Like I think as long as you're living, you're gonna keep growing and you're gonna keep learning. And I feel like Earth is a one big school where we're just all here to learn and grow. And um, you want to be learning and growing in alignment. You don't want to be pretending to be somebody you're not, because you're not going to get the rich lessons that you can while you're here on Earth.
mm, yes. So you just better get started now and go and order Erica's book. I'm going to put the link in the description of the episode so you can find the direct link to go and buy it, and also leave a review for Erica and her book. And I think it's just amazing that you gathered all of the information and the wisdom that you have, put that in a book, and you're spreading your wisdom out in the world to help create more soul aligned businesses and more people living in alignment. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
thank you so much. This was such a great conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Erica. Is there anything else you would like to say before we end?
Yeah, I'll just say that, you know, you have a lot more power than you think you do. We've been told for so long, you know, that the system is broken and we don't have any power. That's all garbage. You have 100% power over a lot more than you think you do. And you need to go out in the world and take the power that you have, take it back and live in alignment, and you're going to feel a lot better.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Erica, for coming and bringing on all of your wisdom and knowledge, and for talking about your book. It's been amazing to have you here on the Dancing Heart podcast. And I wish you all the best with the book launch and, yeah, the rest of this transformative energy of this year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much to Erica for coming on the show and sharing about your new book. And thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Dancing Heart podcast. Share your insights with me and takeaways on my Instagram. It's Torning Wiggum. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care. Ciao.